Years after Naruto became Hokage, a new type of ninja rose to power. The Misfit ninja, and the stories their tale. The world changed much during this era. Technology advanced, opinions towards ninjas soured, and the average strength of ninja diminished. For this reason, new ninja squads formed a new standard. 1 Jonin and 4 Genin. Leaf Team 2 are our tale's heroes. The first of our squad was Silas Ryu, a half-giant orphaned in the Hidden Leaf. Antisocial, outcast, and viewed as nothing more than a brute, he wanted to become something more. He wanted for those around him to treat him as the man he saw inside, to treat him as he truly was. Next was Kono, a transfer student from the Hidden Sand. He was a puppetless puppet ninja, hoping to gather enough funds to make his own puppet and rival the greatest masters of his former village. Third was Kozukai Higurashi. This ninja, a small boy with a vivid imagination, came from a bloodline that guaranteed long life and a youthful visage. He sought to become the greatest genjutsu master ever conceived to make up for his ever-short stature. Finally, another transfer student, this time from the land of iron. Shiro, a samurai in training, transferred to the village to become one of the few ninja samurai hybrids, and even brought Fubuki, a ninja wolf, with him. Ninjas still looked down upon the samurai at this point. They had been allies during the war, yes, but that did little to align their greater cultures. Shiro sought to change that. Their sensei was me, Owari Baransu, the Fatal Current, and a misfit myself. Unlike my students, my name was well known, and my motivations eyed with ever-narrowing scrutiny. I was one of the greatest ninja of my age, a genius rivaling and exceeding even the 4th Hokage, yet doubt followed me wherever I went. The reasons why would become clear all too soon. Like all Leaf Ninja, I enacted a bell exercise to ensure my squad was fit to become Genin. That said, I didn't like the exam I went through or the ones that I've heard my allies experience. This test needed to be different. Once we had all arrived before the memorial stone, I gave them a preamble to who I was and began the test. A kunai was thrown into the back of my head, dismissing my clone and triggering my trap. The ground beneath them crumbled and they fell. Owari Ninja Handbook Rule Number 1. A ninja must see through deception. This was the most important lesson I could teach my students. I created a number of clones, and then we dispersed throughout the cavern. As I knew they would, my squad split up, and each chased a different clone. Silas charged at my first, swinging his giant fist to bring me down in one fell blow. I easily caught his hand and twisted it into submission. For someone who wishes to be seen as more than a brute, you don't inspire much else. Then I used my stun gun jutsu to deliver an electric current into the half-giant, and my clone dispersed. Kono, still puppetless, confronted me with what little he had. Wind jutsu and chakra threads, a decent mix of utility for his age, I admit, but they were easily deflected. Kono, with nothing else at his disposal, recognized futility. A puppetless puppet master, huh? What a joke of a ninja you are. Another swift electrical strike, and my clone disappeared. Kozukai was more clever than the other 2 ninja. He attempted to bait me into a genjutsu-driven illusion. When I took the bait, Kozukai was ready to pounce, but he underestimated me. Against any other sensei, his genjutsu might have actually worked, but my eyes see through plain illusions like his. I walked through this demonic illusion, as though it was never there to begin with. When a genjutsu specialist's illusions are worthless, what else does he have? Nothing. A third stun gun attack followed, and a third clone faded away. Shiro then stood firm against me, gripping his sword. I remember laughing, pointing to my own sheathed blade and mocking him that I wouldn't need to draw it. Shiro, unbothered, made his move. He combined kenjutsu and ninjutsu together, using a clone jutsu to cover for his strike. I admit it, I underestimated him. He caught me off guard, and I had no choice but to draw my own sword and block the attack. To think that the best ninja on our team is the samurai. And with that, my last clone faded. They each returned to the initial room to see me waiting for them. A final battle ensued, with the team finally working together to claim the bell. Brute strength, chakra thread manipulation, illusions, and quality swordsmanship weaved together to strike at me. Yet still no bell was acquired. Until I threw it at them. The most important lesson I can teach you is that you cannot always trust your senses or even your instincts. A ninja must see through deception. Today, you have each failed to do that, and you've let yourselves be divided. But in the end, you came together and made up for it. And for that, you pass. At long last, Team 2 was established.
After becoming an official squad, we eased our way through basic missions. Trash pickup, cat catching, and village delivery. Our ninja life was pretty easy, though it was the side missions we undertook without our sensei that really shaped our path forward. Silas fought some thugs and pursued small-time bounties. Kono did odd jobs to fund his dream. Kozukai and I had a more critical path. We met a shady man by the name of Coyote. It turned out this was the new leader of the Anbu and the Leaf, and he had a very special mission for us. Reveal the truth of Owari's duplicity. Personally, I had never trusted Owari. His words, his flow, even his name, they all reeked of betrayal. Coyote offered us money, weapons, and even forbidden jutsu, whatever we wanted in exchange for this information. Then he revealed why he held doubts in the first place. Owari's history was a tragic one. His village was slaughtered by the waterfall and leaf villages before the Third Great Ninja War. Owari, just a boy, was the sole survivor and had been spirited away to safety with his parents' last breath. He trained for years to take his revenge and tried to assassinate Lord Seventh. He didn't succeed, of course. Garo the Sand, the Kazekage, stopped Owari in his tracks and found out why the attempt had been made in the first place. Pitying the boy, Naruto offered him a home. For a while, Owari remained under scrutiny until his desire for revenge against the Leaf was extinguished. He became an official ninja and quickly rose to the rank of Jonin. It wasn't until he had a mission in the Land of Forest that the doubt around him returned. His mission was on behalf of the Hidden Waterfall Village, and Owari chose an extremely lethal path to success. This wasn't the Owari they had come to know, and that angered the Waterfall. That incident, not detailed here, was the catalyst for the distrust towards my new sensei. And so, Kozukai and I accepted Coyote's offer.
We met a few other strange folk during this time. Ken was a standout among them, a boy our age with 12 twins, or duodecaplets. They had taken a particular fondness for me, one of them in particular, and ended up breaking into my house. Obviously, I had no choice in what came next. I burned my house down and moved in with my buddy Shiro. We eventually found out the real situation behind the Kens. Turned out they were all experimental clones belonging to a decrepit old man named, you guessed it, Ken. All the clones carried a part of the old man's soul in them, part of a bid for immortality. Me and my squad intervened in the final experiment and took the Kens down. One of them, the Kenjutsu Ken, seemed like the only good one among them, so we finished the experiment, but with the young Ken as the final target. He absorbed all the other Kens, including old Ken, and a new ally was born. Ken. We also met the ninja tool shop owner, a strange guy with a weird accent. And there was also Rook, this police officer guy, and Regeko, this drunk that beat up Shiro. Oh, and my sister, Loli. Oh, and who could forget those weird cultists that could survive without a head? My kind of people.
The most important people we met, at least as far as I'm concerned, was Higeki and Orochimaru. Higeki was an experiment of Orochimaru's, and ultimately was kidnapped by him to complete his test. This mission was our first above rank D, and it was far above our heads. This is when we learned how weak we really were. With no time to waste, our squad gave chase to rescue Higeki and help our sensei who was sent out ahead of us. Instead of finding Owari in the battle with Orochimaru, we found our sensei collapse after attacking Koyote, the Anbu leader. Koyote demanded we drop the pursuit and arrest Owari, but I trusted my sensei more. Owari told us Koyote got in the way, and that's how Orochimaru escaped. I had my doubts about our success, but there was no way I could abandon Higeki. We managed to catch up to them and pulled off a sneak attack. But Orochimaru had friends, and all of them were more than we bargained for. Kono managed to grab Higeki with his chakra threads, but before he could secure her, Orochimaru bit him and delivered some kind of curse mark. Shiro and Kozukai fought as Kunoi chief medical specialist, but were both taken down. As for me, I fought a full-blooded giant, one of my kin. He outpaced me in every way. We didn't stand a chance against them. If it wasn't for some innate reaction in my blood, the release of bone spikes from my own hand, I'd be dead. It wasn't enough. We had been beaten, and Orochimaru escaped with Higeki. Shortly after that, Kono failed to survive the curse mark placed upon him, and our squad was down to 3. After that day, I swore I would never be that ineffective again.
We ended up getting this new guy after Kono left. His name was Hajime. He wasn't the brightest, but at least he had a usable weapon, so that was an improvement. What's more important than that, Shiro and I met this weird spirit named Kami. He gifted us this magical crystal ball that let us see visions of the past and future, which is pretty dope. We saw exactly what happened to Owari. Danzo, the previous leader of the Anbu and the Leaf, directly killed Owari's parents, and Owari was left holding their corpses. Well, half of them, as only half their body made it through to save him. But brutal AF, right? That Danzo fella's a real cut above. Anyway, then we saw what Owari did to the waterfall. Basically, a huge group of the village's best Jonin had become rogue ninja and were planning to take over the waterfall village if their demands weren't met. Owari was sent with the stealth squad to deliver the Leaf's recommendation to Shibuki, the Tanikage of the waterfall village. That never ended up happening, though. Owari's squad was caught by the rogue ninja, and Owari told his team to run while he bought time for their escape. Oh, but that was never our sneaky sensei's real plan. Once his team was gone and the rogue ninja ready to chase after them, Owari showed his namesake. The Fatal Current Jutsu, a swaggy grid of electricity stemming from Owari's kunai through all metal weapons on the battlefield that Owari traveled through at the speed of lightning to kill all the rogue ninja in a flash. In just a few seconds, he single-handedly slaughtered an army of elite Jonin. Dang, our sensei is the coolest. After that, we readied to enter the Chunin exams. Owari gave us a final test exercise where we were to do whatever we could to stop him. Obviously, we never succeeded, but I had a super special idea to break him down. Once it was clear we had lost the fight, I used my ultimate secret strategy. I knew Owari would see through my genjutsu, but that didn't mean he was immune to it. I made the best illusion I have ever made, and I showed him the death of his parents again. Okay, I know it's not the smartest strategy, but boy was it effective. Owari ended the test, covered me in iron wire, and nearly killed me. I can't blame the guy, and I honestly thought I was about to die. But lucky for me, he spared me at the last second, but not before refusing to be my sensei again. Whoops.
The Chunin exams arrived, and they were not easy. The first exam... Oh, what's that? Oh, crap. I gotta go, guys. The first exam was simple. Draw cards from a deck. They didn't tell us some of the cards were paper bombs, but Shiro and I were ready to disarm them. We passed, of course. The second exam, the survival one, was a lot tougher. There were some scary Genin there, and we ended up encountering some stranger that killed a bunch of them. He almost killed us until he said something about being at his limit, and left before leaving us with his name. Choitsu the God Killer. Then he cast some massive storm jutsu that forced us to hide for a few hours, wasting precious hours as we needed. This shelter was there, and we met the Sand Team, consisting of Masute, this badass puppet guy, Gyaku, this freaky genjutsu girl, Marco, this cool taijutsu fighter, and Henko, this weird sealing specialist. Once we went on our way, we finished the exam and readied for the finals.
The finals were rough and shook the ninja world. Not because of the Genin, but because of the ruse they were unwittingly protecting. The first fight was lame. A Rain Village Kunoichi versus Suyo, a huge and powerful ninja from the waterfall. Her shuriken did nothing to the man, and he nearly wiped her from battle with one strike. But he had closed the gap and given her an opportunity. She succeeded in placing a sleep genjutsu upon him, and won the match. The second was Kaiju, another waterfall ninja, versus Itsuki, another rain ninja. In a strange turn of events, the two managed to take each other out at the same time, with Kaiju using water ninjutsu and Itsuki using a pommel strike. Third was Ibuki, an earth ninjutsu rain ninja versus Masute of the sand. Masute used his puppet jutsu to poison and defeat the rain ninja with ease. For the fourth battle, Kozukai and Silas faced off. Kozukai nearly pulled the victory with his genjutsu, but Silas's strength won out. Fifth was Gyaku versus Heiwa, the third waterfall ninja. I never saw what Heiwa could do. Gyaku cast her genjutsu and won the battle in less than 3 seconds, the fastest victory I have seen in my life. The sixth match, Satsu of the waterfall versus Sho of the rain. Satsu, you ignorant whelp. He could use space-time ninjutsu, wielded obsidian weaponry, and had a lethality that matched my own. This ninja was crafted by the waterfall to kill me. Obviously, he won his match and Sho fell. Match 7 was Marco of the Sand versus Shiro, in which Shiro proved his genjutsu superior to Marco's taijutsu. Finally, Hajime fought Henko and narrowly pulled the win with a well-placed arrow. Round 2 would have begun, but fate and I had other things in store. I jumped into the arena and demanded an explanation from the waterfall Kage Shibuki before the other Kage of the world. Shibuki met my challenge and called me out for what I did to those rogue ninja of his. This pathetic failure should have been thanking me for stopping the coup, but instead he was cursing my existence. I couldn't act first, but I also wouldn't lose this chance. I baited Shibuki into making the first strike, and he did just that. He drew his sword, Shibuki, the exploding sword of the mist with the same name. I drew my family sword, the Baransu blade, a lightning-based weapon that countered his chakra bomb technique. Without the gimmick of his sword, he was handily outdone by my kenjutsu. Then he revealed his ultimate strength, the hero's water that cut his lifespan in half, but strengthened him tenfold. The water jutsu that followed was immense, beyond my own strength for certain, but he was reckless where I was calm. A vortex of water, liquid dragons, and a flooding stadium pushed me to my limits, but I never lost control. Shibuki had taken the hero's water once before, and the strain on his body was too much for him to maintain his jutsu. I had nearly been bested, but my plan was complete. One strike was all it would take to finish the weakened Tanikage. and he knew it. He drew his sword and made for one final clash. I dashed to meet him, ready to win. But no plan is ever executed without flaw. Naruto jumped in the middle, cloaked with his 9 tails, and ordered the match to stop. But Shibuki and we had already begun the strike, and he couldn't muster the strength to stop. I refused to. I did the unthinkable and lunged my sword through Naruto himself, through my Hokage. All hell broke loose at that moment. The stands erupted into panic, the Kage surrounded me, and the Anbu took tactical positions around the arena to defend and attack. I remember Darui calling me a traitor. I remember Hinata screaming in horror. I remember her children looking at me with hate. But the truth was more complicated. As Naruto lay unconscious in my arms, my sword still plunged through his belly, Sasuke had seen the truth. I did not want to kill Naruto, and in fact I had saved his life. Shibuki had released the last of his chakra into his sword, which would have released an explosion so powerful even the 9 Tails cloak would have shattered and Naruto would have been blown to bits. My strike through Naruto's body allowed me to use my sword to nullify the chakra bombs before they ignited, saving his life. Sakura and the other medical ninja began to treat the Hokage, and as I looked around, I saw Sasuke's revelation had done little to sway the leader. The leaders of the ninja world. Whether they doubted his words or recognized that I started the bout to begin with, I had lost what little trust I had. While this wasn't part of the plan, it would assist with my final goals.
Following the chaos of the Chunin exams, an attack was made on the village from a nearby force. The attack had been expelled with ease, but it was revealed that the architect had succeeded in his plan. Choitsu, the god killer, had used his unique jutsu to drain the life, chakra, and abilities of a number of capable ninja in the battle. Once again, he was at his limit and fled before he could be stopped. This led our team to pursue information on this man. The only lead was a record from Hashirama, the first Hokage, mentioning a man by that name who came from a decrepit ruin known as Taisukimono. It wasn't easy, but we found the god killer's origins. He was a man from a joke of a clan that had been enslaved in this place. He attempted to free his people, but was too weak. In his last desperate moments, he found a new strength in his blood, and began to absorb everything from his captors. But he was too late. His clan had been used, beaten, and killed. In his rage, he began to kill everyone he needed to, and absorb their jutsu and abilities. In the end, he created a ruinous storm that killed everybody in the old city, before leaving to attack the Leaf Village for not coming to his aid. The village leadership, Hashirama and Madara, quickly stopped and sealed the man. It wasn't clear who released this seal, but he was back and seeking revenge on the Leaf and Ninja as a whole. He was set on killing the gods of the shinobi world in whatever form they took. I wish that could have been our focus, but a new mission awaited us. Owari had gone MIA and we were to find him. We followed his path and found him in the waterfall village. He revealed himself to us and explained he was on a top-secret mission to watch over the fallout of the Chunin exam. We were sent to help him, but then we were gassed and left unconscious. When we woke up, it was too late. Owari had lied to us just as I knew he would. But his true plans were far worse. Coyote was right from the very beginning, but not with the target. Owari had been working with Orochimaru, and the two of them, assisted by the Seven Tails Jinchuriki, had just destroyed the waterfall village. We emerged to see the aftermath, and to see Owari kill the Jinchuriki before claiming the Seven Tails for himself. I don't know why, but she thanked him for it. It seemed she hated the village as much as he did. I wanted to attack the traitor, but I knew better. Ora declared his true intentions and betrayed the Leaf, but not before telling us that we were the only ones who could stop him from doing the same thing to the Leaf Village.
3 years have passed since that day. I joined the Shinobi Union Guard, a cross-nation team of talented ninja. Shiro joined the 7 Guardian Shinobi in the Land of Fire. Kozukai established a coffee house, and Hajime disappeared. We received a new teammate, Lane. She was with the Land of Rain squad in the Chunin exams. It was clear our team was far more capable now, and our new missions reflected that. Our new focus was twofold: discover the true goals of both Owari and the God Killer. We traveled to the Land of Sound and broke into Orochimaru's hideout. While looking for clues to the relationship, we managed to discover mentions of gods. It was still unclear how this was all related, but the one god the ninja world couldn't deny was Joshin, the deity that had granted at least 3 followers true immortality. We were waiting for the right time to strike, but our samurai had other plans.
I couldn't just stand by and let Owari continue. The talk of gods, immortality, and Choitsu was all second to the risk he posed, so I set out to seek a true master that would prepare me to confront him. Unfortunately, my team caught wind of my escape because of Ken and pursued me. Fate, it seemed, slowed me down. I encountered the immortal trio and was forced to confront them. Before they could cut me down, backup arrived. Silas, Kozukai, Lane, Ken, Regeko, and even Shikamaru had arrived. A hard-fought battle followed, and it was one we couldn't win. These immortal men had been prepared. Most of us had been defeated, and Kozukai lost his life. When all seemed lost, our savior was the most unexpected man we could have seen. Choitsu, the God Killer. His draining jutsu, whatever it was he was doing, drained them of everything they had, and even their immortality slipped away. It was clear our existence mattered little to him in this moment. It was clear our existence mattered little to him at this moment. He had arrived to absorb the essence of Joshin, and we weren't even a big enough obstacle to be in his way. When the battle was over, I managed to slip away. I wanted to stay, to give my farewells to Kozukai's body, but I knew I wouldn't get this chance a second time. I fled, and I left my comrades to take him home without me. I thought I was in the clear, and then I encountered him, Owari. In the forest, too far to return to the team, he confronted me and demanded my return to the village. I refused. I had gotten one over on my sensei before. I knew I could do it again. Well, that's what I thought when I drew my sword and struck anyway. At long last, I witnessed the fatal current's true strength. He teleported around the battlefield and cut me to pieces in an instant. It wasn't the end I wanted, but it was the one I received. In my last moments, I prayed that Fubuki would return home. The last thing I saw before the life faded was the slice that cut her head off.
I didn't want to kill Shiro or Fubuki, but I had to. I delivered his sword and her head to the team to carry alongside Kozukai's corpse. I then revealed a single grain of truth behind my plans. The remaining members of the squad were candidates for a very special endgame goal. Then I parted ways, but not before Lane revealed a Sharingan and almost burned me alive with Amaterasu, a technique I had thought exclusive to Sasuke and his brother before him. After I confronted Orochimaru, he revealed he was the cause of it. He thought he had failed to revive the Uchiha bloodlines, but succeeded in her. Then he revealed that the other members of the team, and more members of the Leaf, had been other experiments of his. Silas had his bone-molding abilities, Lane her Uchiha blood. A boy named Hira had blood that carried potent healing properties, and a boy named Takashi carried on the legacy of Hashirama's own cells. I could see the strands of fate being woven before me.
Many in the ninja world were still upset at my betrayal, and understandably so. When I destroyed the waterfall, I never expected to return to the Leaf, but I realized there was a piece to this grand puzzle I was still missing. I needed to acquire it. I planned to sneak in and out, only to discover the village was under attack. A supremely powerful being, the god of physicality and darkness, was running through the village. It would have been the perfect cover, yet I could not stand by while so many of my old allies died without purpose. I joined the battle alongside my old comrades. I was surprised to discover Rook and Regekko, my old teammates, already engaged in battle. Then my old students arrived, and we all fought as one. It was a joyous moment, until I felt my bones crack under the might of this god before us. I truly believed I was a match for it, but it caught me the instant my teleportation ended and shattered my body into the ground. I don't know what happened after that, but for some reason the creature fled. When I awoke, I was being treated by the medical corps and my trial had begun. The mixed feelings towards me remained, but I learned many forgave my actions. Ultimately, I was given a temporary pardon for my crimes against the waterfall. As long as I didn't disobey orders again, I would be allowed to operate in the Leaf Village and as a Leaf Ninja. I was happy to be home, but melancholy creeped in as I knew I would betray this village again soon.
Remember me? Yeah, it's that dead guy, Kozakai. The team had been issued replacements for my and Shiro's deaths. These guys named Jim and Takashi. Takashi seemed cool, but that Jim guy? Nah, no way. Turns out some god wanted to help me return to life because he knew how badass I was, so I said hell yeah and returned to life. Through Jim's body, of course. I'm not sure about all the details, but I was alive and kicking inside this Jim guy. For simplicity, you can now call me Kozu Jim. It was crazy seeing Owari back on the squad, but I was feeling good. After the God of Darkness did the damage he did, he sought out his counterpart to try and stop him. Rumors from the Land of Frost mentioned a miracle worker creating a utopia, so we figured that would be the perfect person to help protect the village. After some thorough investigative work, we found the God of Spirituality and Light. The dude was pretty nice. He even gave us a miracle we saved for later. That's when we found out why the God of Darkness fled. The attack was a ruse to find this guy. He then prepared an army and hid within, well, me, to sneak through the village's defenses. Turns out he's who brought me back to life. Anyway, a huge, long slog of a battle ensued where we helped the God of Light against this guy. Somehow, we managed to survive, and the two gods fought. Of all people, it was Ken who stopped their fight and talked some sense into them both. He talked about the God Killer who would hunt them down and convince them that working together was the only way they could survive. Then they both joined with him, which was pretty dang cool. Of course, it would have been better if it was me, but beggars can't be choosers. Ken then ended up revealing a long and complicated backstory. Basically, he was the samurai like 2 centuries ago that married into the Uzumaki clan. Then his daughter became the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and he nearly died after getting her to the Land of Fire. He ended up as an Orochimaru experiment as an old man, broke free, and continued Orochimaru's experiment so he could watch over his grandson, the current Hokage Naruto. Crazy, right? Anyway, the wisdom and juxtaposition in his own mind is what appealed to the gods and gave him the wisdom he needed to talk them down. Whew. Also, that miracle I mentioned, Silas wasted it by giving me that guy sensei and restoring his physical abilities. Lame. He could have used it to give me my old body back. Ugh.
This new team was full of surprises. I initially joined them to inform on their dealings to Coyote and the Anbu, but it was clear this team had much more going on. We ended up going to an alternate dimension, then attacking an Orochimaru hideout. We even confronted the rogue ninja Masute and Gyaku, who had left the Leaf to create a puppet army to take over the ninja world. We managed to pull out the victory, though they did escape. Through all of this, I had been keeping a close eye on Owari, and it was clear he still had something else planned. He stole DNA from one of the Sanin in the alternate dimension, and I'd found him sneaking into the former Root's hidden base. Nothing he did was blatantly treason, but Coyote and I knew something was up. Then an explosion at the Hokage's mansion drew us all back. Owari had attacked Naruto and revealed his new allies, reanimations of Itachi Uchiha, Danzo Shimura, and Jiraiya, the Toad Sage. What was far more confusing was that we learned that they weren't being controlled. They were helping Owari attack the Leaf, willingly. None of us could understand why. I remember seeing the betrayal on so many faces around me. Sasuke seeing his brother stand against him once more. Naruto and Tsunade, unable to grasp why Jiraiya stood against them now. None of us could understand why. But before we could look more into it, Owari then revealed his new strength. A golden glow came from the man. He had acquired the power of Raijin, the lightning god. He had stolen the power that once humbled him, and with it, none of us could stand against him. Finally, he revealed that while his true goal is beyond our understanding, he could share some information we'd been lacking. All of the gods have a weakness. If they take a physical form, they must share it with an individual, an avatar. They cannot achieve their true strength without one, but doing so gives them a weakness. If the vessel is sealed, so is the god. If a vessel is killed, the god returns to its realm, and their power with them. However, if the god killer gets his hands on them, he takes the god for himself. Because of that, it means the god killer has currently taken the power of a god, just like Owari and Ken. If he gains another, he may become unstoppable. Then Owari disappeared, and his reanimations left with him. While we weren't allies anymore, we did have a common enemy.
Owari had betrayed us again. This time, the ninja world wouldn't forgive him. The Shinobi Union met to decide how to handle him, and an army of counter-ninja was established to defeat him while using one of us as bait to draw him in. Kozujin volunteered, of course. Alongside him we had Inoki, the last user of Dust Release, a duo of counter-operations ninjas named Red and Blue, Rock Lee, Owari's former sensei, and Rook and Regekko. The only ninja Owari said he feared, Regekko because he was the greatest counter-ops ninja in history, and Rook because, well, actually I don't know why. Behind that, an army of ninja in the shadows was ready to overwhelm him, our squad included. But again, Owari was ready. When he was confronted by the ninja, instead of calling upon his new allies, Owari used reanimation to return 3 women to life. Ko, Regekko's dead wife, Yuri, Owari, Rook, and Regekko's former teammate, and my own mother. This shock broke Regekko's counter-jutsu that inhibited Owari's movements, and Lane immediately used Amaterasu to burn the trio. That's when I saw what Owari feared in Rook. It turns out Rook was madly in love with Yuri, and never forgave himself for failing to save her. Rook lashed out, but not at Owari. His eyes glowed red, and he attacked Lane, who had just taken away his chance to express his feelings. Lane ignited in flames, nearly dying from the attack. Chaos followed. Owari killed Red, and then he escaped with Kozujin. I don't know exactly what occurred after that, but we found Kozujin dead in the same way that Owari almost killed Kozukai before the Chunin exams. Blue, Red's lover, was beside himself in agony. He had lost the one thing he loved, and he had acted like Rook. Blue said the only way to take revenge against Owari was to kill his students. the candidates he mentioned. I readied for a great battle, but Lane used Tsukiyomi on him and made him relive his lover's death until it broke him. This man, a once powerful and passionate hero, sunk to his knees before me and begged for death. I granted it to him. We had failed that day, not just our squad, but the entirety of Ninja. Owari Sensei, why? We pursued Owari further, raiding old dens and bases. Owari was settling grudges and making his will known. Coyote, the only man who stood against him, where others hesitated, was one of these. His death was a statement that couldn't be ignored. Coyote was right all along, and our failure to see that was our undoing.
Team 2 was in need of replacements, and that's where I arrived. The name's Hira. Bzz, bzz, X Squad! And I'm a medical specialist with healing blood. The perfect means of survival for a team so crucial to helping the ninja world. Another ninja, a survivor of the waterfall tragedy, also joined us. His name was Richard. Alongside Takashi, Silas, and Lane, we had a team of 5 ready to challenge Owari's goals. A new group of revolutionaries had been rising up after the nation's failures to stop Owari, the Kakume. This group should have just been a distraction, but they were growing rapidly and needed to be handled. We snuck into their village in the Land of Rain and worked to understand what was happening. Turns out they had been mass-producing Kote, a scientific ninja tool that could give civilians the ability to use jutsu. If that wasn't enough, they were also moving their sights on the ninja villages with the hopes of removing them permanently. We ended up confronting the leader of this revolution and learned he was a powerful rogue ninja scorned by his experiences. We should have killed him then and there, but fled. Too many soldiers were on our tail, and this unknown adversary risked being too much for us. After all the squad's recent losses, I can't blame him for it. It was then that I also realized I wasn't strong enough to help this team. I needed a medical master to teach me some tricks. In a stone village, ex-ninja named Buki was that master. He joined the Leaf, and my training began.
After all our failures, it was time for success. Masute had shown us his face. Masute had shown his face again, and it was time to end things. He had killed an entire village of dragons and turned them into his puppets. This man had killed too many already, so I threw everything I had at him. I cut his puppets to bits, and I cut him into ribbons. Gyaku finally realized he had never cared about her, surrendered, and we brought her in. At long last, we had succeeded in something, and stopped one villain. We even managed to find and return Higeki to the village, freeing her from Orochimaru's grip. I swore I would never let harm come to her after that day.
Throughout all of my backstabs, betrayals, and deceptions, there were a few that always believed I was doing the right thing, just with a logic that they did not see. Silas, Kozukai, Regeko, Rook, Rock Lee, Might Guy, and, of course, Ken. Since he had become a vessel for not just one, but 2 gods, it was clear that he would be the next target for the God Killer. I met with him in private and revealed the truth to him. The truth I had kept from everyone else. He did not take it well. He fell into a deep depression. But the man was resilient. He found himself in time to do what was necessary. Knowing that his days were numbered, he sought to enjoy himself in the only way he knew how. A tournament of swordsmen. Talented ninja and samurai from across the land were called to his new dojo, including Silas and the leader of the Kakume, Jun. The tournament went as expected, with Silas and Jun fighting in the end. Ultimately, Silas proved himself the better swordsman, but he had given away more than he realized and gained little in its place.
Jun left, defeated but not broken. After Ken thanked Silas for the great battles, he refused to fight himself. He needed to save his strength. When the God Killer arrived, I did too. Not to fight by Ken's side, but to ensure my former squad didn't throw their lives away trying to help him. Once the battle began, they knew they were outmatched and would just be a hindrance to him. They did as I asked and left. The battle that followed was one of shock and awe. Ken fought harder than any man I had seen, knowing his life would be forfeit. He drew upon the forbidden strength of the gods within, cutting his lifespan to a lone thread, all so that I could observe the God Killer's style and use the gifts of my bloodline to find his fatal flaws. For the briefest of moments, I thought Ken had managed to win this battle and defied fate itself. A sword of light in one hand, a blade of darkness in the other, and the God Killer's body ripped to shreds between them. But fate wasn't so kind. The God Killer could use the abilities, bloodlines, and even the eyes of those he had drained. One of those, a kill from long before my time, was Uchiha. His scattered body disappeared, and a restored one took its place. Izanagi. Ken tried to strike again, but his thread was too thin. I wanted so much to jump in and spare him his fate, but I could not lose this chance. The God Killer drained Ken and took the gods with him. This being was now the most powerful entity on the planet, exceeding even the legends of old in the might of the Otsutsuki. Yet he had a flaw, and Ken's death let me identify it. I even learned that he only had one more use of Izanagi left. Thank you for your sacrifice, my old friend. I wish that this was where the tragedy needed to end, but much more blood needed to be drawn.
With the Kakame claiming more power, and Owari causing the civilian populace to lose faith in ninja, the foothold of ninja became loose. An army of Kote-equipped anti-ninja killers began to march on the ninja villages. While the ninja could have stopped them, it would have leveled half the nations. Too many ninja and innocent civilians would die to keep just a shred of power, forcing them to consider harsh truths. Then Owari made his statement. He had allied with the Kakume, and had claimed the Kiba swords, powerful weapons that enhanced his already dominant lightning. He broadcast himself leveling a city without assistance. No longer sure of victory, the Kage begrudgingly but unanimously agreed. The ninja villages would be abandoned, and they would form a new home in the land of snow, united as one. Thus, Yukigakure was founded. The Kakume took over the ninja villages, but their march went on. They arrived at Yukigakure and made their attack on the united villages. Powerful ninja fought throughout the city, and old rivals met anew. Silas sought out Higeki, ready to keep her safe, but Jun had arrived first. Knowing Silas from their previous battle, he pulled off the grandest deception of them all, and tricked him into killing his own lover. Silas ran her through with his swords. Thinking she was Jun, I remember the rage that followed. Blind, pure, and terrifying. Buki and I had arrived just in time to witness Silas's greatest failure, but not in time to save Higeki, or so I thought. Silas made quick work of Jun after that, and the despair that followed caused the ground to shudder in his wake. But Buki let out a sigh. He stopped Silas from taking her body and went to work. He told me to pay attention. This was his final lesson to me. My master sacrificed himself to save Higeki and finish my training. Rest in peace, Buki. You truly were the GOAT.
Orochimaru didn't help in the attack, but he took advantage of it. He wanted to take me as his next vessel, but I had the blood of the Senju in my veins, and I would not surrender myself for his pitiful power. I regrouped with my squad and pushed back against the invaders. The leaders of the Kakume fell, leaving a scattered army and Owari. When the golden lightning flashed from the heart of the village, we knew where we needed to go. Owari had confronted the Kage. We arrived just in time to find them on their knees, helpless against his godly might. Yet no one was dead. Owari revealed another of his many riddles and gave an ultimatum. His former squad were the only ones that could stand against him. I didn't see how even Silas's strength couldn't compare to Owari now. But his ultimatum explained these details. We were to find and claim the remaining gods. We were to take tailed beasts. We were to be gifted relics and power from all the villages to ensure we had the tools to stand against him. If we didn't, then we would fail. And if we didn't, Owari would obliterate ninja from the history books. Then he left, leaving the remaining Kakume to perish. Still, we didn't understand Owari's gambits. Still, an ever-shifting goalpost stood ahead of us. Yet the map's edges were being filled in. The fog of war was lifting. Slowly but surely, we would see the truth.
We had learned of 9 gods in total. Jiaxin, Yin, and Yang with the God Killer. Raijin with Owari. Kami, Sujin, Fujin, Kojin, and Dojin remained unaccounted for. Our squad enhanced ourselves to be ready to claim them. I acquired new swords, the 4 tails, and a means to use the 8 gates without losing my life. Lane practiced Sage Jutsu and took the 2 tails. Tagashi expanded his wood style and claimed the 5 tails. Richard pursued powerful water ninjutsu, and Hiro received his own blessing from an Otsutsuki drained by the God Killer, giving his healing potential a dramatic boost. Throughout this period, we learned that Kami had been claimed by Chuitsu, giving him 4 gods. Tagashi earned Dojin, the Earth God. Hiro gained Fujin, the Wind God. Lane claimed Kojin, the Fire God. And Richard was bestowed with Sujin, the Water God. I was the only one without one. But that was fine by me. I trusted my teammates, and our number of gods were even. But the battle against the God Killer hadn't arrived yet. First, we were to take our nations back. The Kakume were leaderless and scattered, but still a force to be reckoned with. We took back the hidden cloud, the hidden stone, the hidden mist, the hidden sand, and aimed our sights upon the hidden leaf. When we arrived, however, we found every member of the Kakume was already dead, and metal rods and kunai were scattered throughout the village. Owari had killed the Kakume, forced the civilians into hiding, and trapped the entire village into his fatal current ability. He then gave his order to us, his squad. It was time to fight. It was time for one of us to die.
I let my reanimation loose to keep any other ninja at bay. Using my fatal current to this degree was draining, but necessary. When my team arrived, our battle began. They had come far in such a short time. Between the power of their gods, tailed beasts, and other strength, I was pushed to my limits. But I had my own god, a stronger tailed beast, and far more wits. Richard was knocked out first. Hira fell second. I was worried at that moment. Were they not strong enough to beat me? Then the trio that remained channeled their tailed beast chakra into a giant tailed beast bomb. I almost couldn't believe it. The fused power, the terrifying strength. The absolute fools. I created a blink gate, a special portal to redirect their attack back at them. It used a lot of chakra, but Takashi and Lane fell, and only Silas was left. He used that foolish seal Masayoshi taught him and entered the 8 gates. It was understandable, of course. He knew if he exited the gates in time, it wouldn't consume his life, and he could never have imagined that I could meet such power. That was until I opened the 8 gates myself. His brute force versus my unparalleled speed.
The landscape was forever altered by our clashes and strikes. Then, as the final clash came, I felt my stomach rip open. Silas had landed his attack and won the battle. With the last of my strength, I bound his body and began the transfer. Only one of us could survive here. Only one of us could defeat the God Killer. Only one of us could save the world. And I couldn't be any prouder as I gave Silas Raijin and my ninja relics. Then I torched my own body and wished him luck. But that's not the end of my tale. Oh no. When the squad arrived back at the Leaf, they finally learned the truth of it all. When I was a child, I watched my village be slaughtered by the Leaf and Waterfall. I attempted to take revenge and kill the Hokage, but the village had changed. With Naruto at its head and Danzo gone, hope filled the world. Gaara and Naruto showed me a better path, and I was ready to commit to it. But fate isn't so kind. A ninja dog appeared before me and reverse summoned me to his home. The elder dog sage revealed a horrible truth that would shape the rest of my life. A prophecy had been foreseen with consequences so horrible, the vision was clear to all sages who saw them. The God Killer would end the world unless my student could beat them. I asked how this could happen. What could I do to influence the world? The sage answered, "You must force your students to become stronger than you. You must make them your enemy and ensure they prove their strength to the most bitter of ends." I refused. I couldn't accept this truth, this prophecy. But as time went on, I was compelled. I knew that there was truth in their words. Maybe it was their fear, maybe their passion, maybe my own desire for grandeur. I knew that the only way I could ensure my students would kill me was for me to become their enemy. For me to try and take their lives myself. But that wasn't enough. I had to become the enemy of the world. I had to take as much power as I could for myself to ensure that they would match and surpass me. It was the only way to ensure victory. That's why my reanimations worked with me. Itachi knew this struggle, becoming an enemy to ensure your precious ones can grow strong. Danzo knew of the sacrifice, the man who gave everything he had for the Leaf, knowing that they would hate him for his methods. And Jiraiya knew prophecy, unable to escape his own. I had brought them back to life to guide me, because they alone could understand. And when the time came, I accepted my fate. I made it a certainty that my team would emerge stronger than the God Killer, and I had figured out the God Killer's greatest weakness, the gods themselves. Yet my final secret must remain hidden. I gave the Kage one final warning. The bearers of the gods must fight Shoitsu alone. If anyone else interferes, then the world will end.
Little new strength could be acquired. We had mastered our jutsu, our tailed beasts, and our new gifts. All that remained was the time to strike. We took advantage of this calm. We spent time with old friends, played games, and laughed. We even went to the beach.
When the God Killer did arrive, we threw everything we had at him. Richard tried to drown him and failed. Lane tried to burn him to ash and failed. I tried to cut him to pieces and failed. Takashi tried to beat him down, with a wooden barrage, and also failed.
And there I stood, alone against the God Killer, 8 gates strong. I activated my limit-breaking seal and entered the 8th gate. I threw everything I had at him and used my ultimate technique to tear him to pieces. Even through my seal, my final attack left me a crumpled mess. But I had won. I had killed the God Killer. Oh, right. He still had one more Izanagi left. Was this the end? As the light faded, I just remember him crying in agony.
There we all arrived at the end, around a campfire. All of the lives I had ruined and forced to submit. With this final sacrifice, the last of my deceptions could be laid bare. Should he acquire all 9 gods, they would be too much for him, and burst back to their realm, leaving the God Killer a hollow shell, starting his strength anew. Not only had I realized that my death was necessary, but so was theirs. At long last, fate shone warmly upon me. I had a method to revive my students, to return them as they were.
Being revived in front of Orochimaru was horrifying at first. Had I been reanimated? No. Owari had struck a deal. Owari was reanimated, and was now a loyal servant to Orochimaru, but the rest of us were back for good. Some powerful jutsu beyond our understanding. Our tailed beasts were gone, our god powers spirited away, but our ninja talents and our bodies were good as new.
We returned to Choitsu to find him clamoring for his lost power. He was a child, desperate for the toys he had lost. I saw now why Owari didn't want anyone else to be here. Not only could he not absorb more power,
But it sealed our place in history as the saviors of the ninja world. We fought the God Killer one last time and struck him down for good. Every day that followed was one in our hands. Our lives were our own once more.
The children of the Misfit Ninja would take after their parents in more ways than they realized. As the ninja world advanced and the map's edges expanded, a new land drew the eyes of ninja, the land of industry. A squad was sent to greet them, only to be kidnapped. Through teamwork and tact, they escaped their prison and sought to make this nation understand the strength of ninja. But before their will could be known, they found a shadow of great strength. The ninja fractured, splintering into opposing groups, and this demon took its claim to one. It still isn't clear what that entity was, but once the ninja reformed themselves and slayed its new host, they were ready to head home. Most would never get the chance. Whatever that shadow creature was, it was a catalyst. Its death forced every creature that ever had an ounce of godly power to fade away, snapped out of existence. The saviors of the ninja world, their children, and even my reanimated self all disappeared without a trace. The only remnant of that day is the vortex, a swirling cloud above Yukigakure. And that vortex is the heart of the next tale of Naruto. Naruto, Blood and Mist. Naruto, the Wilting Leaf.